Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be discussing how much Kaspa you would need to retire by 2029. This is the fourth video on my channel, so if you haven't already, please subscribe and check out the first 3 videos after you watch this one. Right, let's get into it. In order to answer this question, we first need to come up with a predicted price range for Kaspa in 2029. Let's talk about the power law. The power law is a mathematical relationship between two values that can be associated with a whole range of natural and social phenomena. The power law has been used all the way from finding out genetics in animals to predicting the distance of planets away from the sun. The ingenious Giovanni Santastasi, a physicist, neuroscientist, and financial analyst, was one of the main researchers behind the discovery that Bitcoin in fact followed a power law too. Now, if I attempt to explain how and why Bitcoin follows this power law, I simply wouldn't do it justice, so I'm going to link in the description below an article that Giovanni recently wrote about his findings. But anyway, I'll sum it up quickly. Historically, Bitcoin has followed this power law with a staggering 92% accuracy. And if it continues on this same trajectory, then we could use the power law to determine Bitcoin's future price, which is huge. Miko Geno on Twitter has claimed that for the first time since Bitcoin, Kaspa is the only other crypto asset in history to follow its own power law too. He's got some great charts, so I'd advise you check him out. But using Miko's power law indicators, we can use the Kaspa power law to find a predicted price range on any given date in the future. Now, obviously, the further into the future we look, the less accurate this might be, but we'll play around with it and see if we can come up with some realistic values. Based off the historical Bitcoin 4-year halving cycles, followed by a bull run, in 2013 we had a peak in November, in 2017 we had a peak in December, and the most recent peak was in November 2021. So in theory, we could see a peak in November 2025 and maybe in November 2029 as well. So using the power law, we can find the price of Kaspa in mid-November 2029. I'm just using this bot that automatically finds the high, low, and fair value price for Kaspa using the power law for any specific date. According to this power law, Kaspa should have a fair value of $30.34 in mid-November, but it also could be as high as $48.18. So that's an increase of 400,000% over 5.5 years. The reason I think these numbers are possible for Kaspa is not just because of the power law. If you know anything about the project, you know that it is the first ever crypto to solve the trilemma, which, when you pair that with Kaspa's KRC20, which gives it the ability for smart contracts, it ultimately means that Kaspa is going to be a real contender to be the first ever crypto that dethrones Ethereum, which potentially could happen by 2029. Another thing to note is that the SEC is shortly making a decision about whether or not they're going to pass the ETFs for Ethereum, and if they deny it, they will likely have to classify Ethereum as a security, which would ultimately pave the way for a commodity like Kaspa to take stage. Even still, if the ETF does still pass, Kaspa still has the real potential of overtaking Ethereum in the future. Ethereum's high fees and Solana's high congestion will be no match for the speeds of Kaspa's block DAG. Now, moving on, let's find out how much money someone needs to have in order to retire. For the following figures, this is taking into consideration that the retirement money will be paid annually to you until you are 90 years old. And in this article written by Business Insider, they suggested that you would need $6 million at your disposal at age 25 in order to retire on a comfortable $100,000 annual income. For a 35-year-old to retire on that same $100,000 annual income after retirement, they would need $5.2 million at their disposal. A 45-year-old would need $4.3 million. A 55-year-old would need $3.5 million. And a 65-year-old would need $2.5 million in order to retire on an annual income of $100K until they are 90. So, for each group category, let's figure out how much Kaspa you would need. Given that from our assumptions, Kaspa continues to follow the power law, we could see it hitting in 2029 a fair price of $34.34 and a high price of $48.15. This gives us a price range in which we can estimate how much Kaspa you would need to hold. Firstly, if Kaspa hits the fair price target of $34.34, then for age 25, we would have to take $6 million and divide that by 34. ultimately meaning to retire at 25 years old, you would need approximately 174,000 Kaspa, which at today's prices of 12 cents would cost you around $20.9 thousand. If Kaspa hits a more bullish target of $48.15, then 6 million divided by 48 would mean that in a more bullish case scenario for 2029, you could retire at age 29 if you had 124,000 Kaspa, which would cost you today roughly $14.9 thousand. If you're aiming to retire at age 35 in 2029, 5.2 million divided by a fair Kaspa value of $34.34 would mean you would need 151,000 Kaspa, which at today's price costs you $18.1 thousand. But with a more bullish Kaspa prediction, you would need 107,000 Kaspa, which at today's price costs you $12.9 thousand. Now, if you wanted to retire at age 45, $4.3 million divided by a Kaspa fair value would mean you would need 125,000 Kaspa, which at today's price costs you $15,000. But with a more bullish Kaspa prediction, you would only need 89,000 Kaspa, which at today's price costs you around $10,700. If you wanted to retire at the age of 55 in 2029, 3.5 million divided by the fair price for Kaspa would mean you would need 101,000 Kaspa, which today's value would cost around $12,000. But with the more bullish Kaspa prediction, you would need 72,000 Kaspa, which at today's price cost you only $8.7 thousand. Now for those aiming to retire at age 65. 2.5 million divided by the fair price of Kaspa would mean you would need 72,000 Kaspa, which at today's price costs you 8.7k. But with the more bullish Kaspa price prediction, you would need 51,900 Kaspa, which only costs you $6,200 today. I will say though, if you had been buying Kaspa when I was buying Kaspa at 3 cents, then the costs of obtaining enough Kaspa back then would have been these prices that you can see on screen now. It's pretty staggering how cheap these prices are with the risk to reward payoff, but even below 15 cents is still very cheap to be buying Kaspa. Ultimately, these predictions are a bit of fun and not actual financial advice. They're simply my own opinions and predictions which are built on a theory that Kaspa continues to abide this power law still in 5 years' time. As usual though, you should be conducting your own research before investing. If you want to know why I believe Kaspa is the best crypto to ever enter the market, go and watch my Kaspa Explained video, which gives you a nice quick summary. Anyway, let me know in the comments below how much Kaspa you aim to hold by 2029 and what you would love to see me make a video on. Any feedback is also much appreciated. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new. You can follow me on Twitter at TommyDoesCrypto, where I am active every day posting updates. But anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.